Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm doing a really interesting series, and this series is called Replacement Singers, Who Did It Better? Next up is Stone Temple Pilots. Before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. That'd be really cool. I have a singing course. If you're interested in singing, learning how to sing, you're already a good singer, you can find it right here at kentamplinvocalacademy.com. It's called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, where I also have a free singing forum over there with over 25,000 singers, all talking about how to get good at singing. So now I want to dive right into this. Of course, we know Scott Weiland and Chester Bennington, so we're just going to kind of dive into that. Now, we have, again, a sort of playbook, a rule book, I should say, where we're not going to just blast people and say, oh, he's better, blah, 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 blah. We want to really look at the criteria of why someone is better. So the first thing is that, were they a good showman? Did the replacement singer come in out of nowhere, or were they already from an established band? Did they contribute significantly creatively to the band? Did they write new music for the band? And how long did they last in the band when they came in to replace the original singer? Was the songs that they wound up having to sing songs that were really dominant or signature songs for the original singer, as opposed to stuff that maybe they would be better served writing stuff on their own and moving on? We've talked a lot about this with David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar and Van Halen and stuff like that. So I want to dive right in. Here we go. You know the song. Let's do this. Okay, now I want to make some comments along the way, and they're going to be a little odd in the way sometimes I make these comments because it's just sort of how I see things, right? I think that he's a really quirky but mysterious and interesting performer. Now, a lot of that was drugs, and a lot of that was just a lot of stuff, but he's kind of quirky, weird guy, right? So he brings me in to the intrigue of this just from being kind of strange. You know what I mean? I know we're going to get to Chester Bennington in a minute. He certainly has his strengths. And of course, obviously with Linkin Park, where did they go? So again, the criteria is when they stepped into the, to fulfill the shoes of the original singer, did they raise the bar? And then did they go on as a singer and continue on? Or did they just, after this replacement, their careers were done and that was it? So we already know how that all plays out, especially with Chester. But so you have this thing where these guys are reinventing rock in sort of the modern rock, dare I say grunge, because I hate to be called that, but the modern rock era, and really pioneering and cutting new territory, so new ground, new horizons, so to speak. So let's continue. Now, I can't grade everyone's performance on just the footage that I've been allowed to use by publishing companies on YouTube. So, but this was a pretty good example of him. Other stuff, he gets a little crazier and he's, pretty wild. And a lot of this, I'm very convinced, was obviously drug induced. So he's spot on. I mean, his vocals are spot on. The audience likes him. So, he has a really good connection with his audience, and he's working the stage in his way that he does his kind of creepy little, things that he does. But in the end, I mean, hey man, he's pulling it off. They wrote some great songs. The audience are singing the music without him doing this. They're just singing along because they like this stuff. So there's a lot to be said with what Scott has done here. Okay, now we're going to get into Chester. This is a little different because I like to get apples to apples. So I really tried to find stuff that was the same song. So it wouldn't, one song isn't like this epic piece that's, you know, the replacement singer does. And the other one is maybe some obscure thing. I really wanted to get that. But the only footage I could get is the one that starts out acoustically, but it's still kind of cool. So let's check this out.
I see the time's a ways to go. So where you going for tomorrow? And I see.
For me personally, Chester's a much better singer than this, and he's kind of weak on it. But it does pick up, spoiler alert.
These are lies to come. So would you even care? And I feel it. And I feel it. Where you going for tomorrow? Where you going with the mask and frown?
Okay, cool. Great guitar playing, by the way. So he's stepping into something that's not totally his thing, but he's doing a really good job, and he's, you know, sucking it up, and he's just kind of really digging in. We're gonna hear some more in a minute. The thing that I really want to bring up about this is that, and Scott moved around in some other projects, as you know, too, and you know, did some stuff with Slash, and, you know, a few things. But when I think of Chester Bennington, I don't think of him as this kind of singer, okay? I think of him as being incredibly innovative. And when I think of Linkin Park, extremely innovative for what they did and how they literally own planet Earth. I think one of their streams just come up on 1 billion views or something. So he was a little bit of a fish out of water here, in my opinion. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, you guys post in the comment sections, you tell me what you think of this. Is sort of my observation. And then, but he held his own in this, and it sort of bought him the right to continue to be creative and innovative and move forward with some different pioneering kinds of things. Let's listen to this some more, and then I want to talk a little bit more about his style in a minute.
And I feel when the dogs begin to smell her. Well, she smells low. When the dogs are find her, got time, wait tomorrow. To find it, to find it, to find it.
Okay. Now, I haven't seen much of him in Stone Temple Pilots. I have seen him in Linkin Park. His persona and his taking ownership of the band is more like taking ownership like a replacement singer and not dominating with the band, like owning it, like when, you know, when Ripper Owens came in, you know, for Judas Priest, or when, you know, like just different people that have stepped up to Sammy Hagar, stepped into Van Halen, these different, you know, big personality singers. So he kind of hides behind the microphone in this environment, but not in Linkin Park. He's a completely different singer. And he has kind of his little boy voice thing, and then his crazy scream growl thing, and his unbelievable command of breath control. So very, very different personas. And let me give you kind of a silly example of this, okay? I'm a soccer guy, love soccer. And I've seen a lot of Lionel Messi. He's one of my favorite players, and I love Barcelona. It's one of my favorite teams. I love Argentina, or, you know, South American teams, Argentine teams, and Brazilian teams as well. Particularly, I like that kind of game. And so, whenever I've seen Lionel Messi out of his element, even in World Cup, which you'd think that he'd be really comfortable with his own team, his own country and stuff in World Cup, he's a fish out of water, and he hardly ever scores, and you kind of hardly ever see his prowess on the field or his ability and his authority on the field. When you see him in his element in Barcelona, it's like, wow, it's a completely different guy. So it's interesting that as these guys kind of move around from band to band, how they shine differently in different situations. And I just wanted to make those annotations along the way because he's a force, man, especially that one concert he did with Chris Cornell, and they did. Gosh, I don't know, man. Okay, next up is Jeff Gutt. And the thing of it is like I said, I couldn't get a lot of really good footage. So this was the best footage I could get of him. Let me get past Out of Chester here and we'll move on. Check it out.
On Sunday afternoon, for what I read between the lines. Feeling like I have a rusted chain. So do you like those to cry?
Okay, guys, if you're really honest, there's really almost no fire here at all. He's a pretty boy guy, kind of reminds me of an Orange County guy. Maybe he is, I don't remember or not, but there's no fire, there's no authority, there's a lot of like, swooning of the girls kind of stuff. But I really just don't see this as the front guy for STP. I just, I don't know how you go from Scott Weiland to that. Pretty tough call. I know that they needed, and by the way, I know that before I go too far in this, there's been other people that have kind of dabbled in the singing, so I'm just staying focused on the main people. But if you really listen to this, it's just lackluster. There's no energy. It's almost like he's just kind of punching a clock. He's kind of too cool for school, as far as I'm concerned. Just not wow. Yeah, there's just no authority in it. So I think my vote still would be Scott Weiland personally. I think Bennington stepped in a cool kind of way, but it wasn't really the right gig for him, and Linkin Park certainly was. And Goot for me is just very nonplussing. So tell me what you think, guys. I want to be really, really fair about this. Maybe I'm missing some performances, or do you guys don't have the right song, and that could happen too. Please put your comments in the comment sections. Let me know what you think, and definitely check out my next video.